The first voice you hear in the morning is not just sound, it is direction, it is influence, it is authority. Every morning, when your eyes open and your mind returns from the realm of sleep, you are not just waking up physically, you are waking up spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. That awakening is delicate, it is pure, it is untouched, it is still unshaped. And in that raw, undisturbed moment, the voice that reaches your consciousness first is not just making noise, it is laying foundation. It is either building your courage or planting fear. It is either drawing you into peace or pulling you into panic. It is either reminding you of purpose or dragging you back into problems. The first voice is not casual, it is prophetic. Many people rise in the morning and the first voice they hear is worry. The voice of the world, the news, the notifications, the schedule, the bank account, the argument from yesterday, the regrets from last week, the unfinished dreams. That voice comes in quickly because it wants dominion over your day. It wants to plant the seed of defeat before your spirit even stands up. And if you're not aware, if you're not intentional, your entire day will be a response to that first voice. You'll spend the next 16 hours trying to fix what the first 2 minutes damaged. But if the first voice you choose to hear is the voice of truth, of divine identity, of the inner kingdom, of your eternal self, then the whole day bows to that alignment. If you rise and the first sound in your soul is stillness, gratitude, divine remembrance, and vision, then your emotions have no room to spiral. Fear has no access, confusion has no seat. When you hear the voice of clarity before the voice of chaos, you rise with a different kind of power. That is not motivation, that is dominion, that is rulership. Morning is a throne, and the first voice is the kingmaker. It is a voice that holds the brush and paints the tone of your day. You must ask yourself daily, who is painting my morning? Whose words are filling the canvas of my thoughts before I move? Is it fear or faith? Is it pressure or purpose? Is it the opinions of others or the vision of the Creator? The answer to that question is not just psychological, it is spiritual. Because whatever enters first lays claim to the rest. If anxiety enters first, your peace will be chasing from behind all day. But if purpose enters first, every situation will adjust to your authority. This is why sacred silence is so powerful. Before you check the phone, before you check the time, before you re-enter the rhythm of earth, you must take hold of heaven. The voice you hear within must be louder than the voices that scream without. You must command your soul to listen, to tune in, not to the noise of yesterday, but the promise of today. Morning meditation is not just about quietness. It's about choice. You are choosing which spirit governs you. You are choosing what frequency will dominate the rest of the day. That choice is the difference between disorder and design, between reaction and creation. And here is what many miss: the voice you hear first becomes the voice you echo all day. If the voice is one of complaint, you will become a complaint. If the voice is one of lack, you will respond to the day as if you are empty. But if the voice is abundance, you will walk as if you are full. If the voice is victory, you will speak and act with assurance. That is the miracle of the first voice. It becomes your internal script. And once that script is written, it becomes your outer world. Your words follow it. Your thoughts flow through it. Your behaviors reflect it. The first voice becomes the central command for the rest of your decisions. Most people think a miracle is something that happens to them. But a true miracle is something that is born in them before it appears around them. That miracle begins with a voice, a whisper in the morning, a declaration before the sun is fully up, a moment when your soul remembers who you are and whose you are. That is the ignition point of faith. That is the birthplace of movement. That is where heaven touches earth, when a human chooses to begin their day not by accident, but by design, not by distraction, but by devotion. You are not an echo of the world. You are an expression of the Creator. But if the voice of the world greets you first, it will attempt to redefine your worth. It will distort your focus. It will dilute your strength. That is why the first voice must not be the voice of news or bills or problems or emails. The first voice must be the voice of identity. A voice that reminds you of what is true regardless of what is happening. A voice that speaks from within, not from around. A voice that rises from the deep reservoir of your inner being, where eternity has planted its seed. When you awaken, the door between the spiritual and physical is still open. The noise of life has not yet closed it. And in that moment, you stand in the hallway of both realms. It is in that moment you must choose who enters first. The one you allow in will either bring light or confusion, life or frustration. The miracle begins not with what happens outside your house, but what happens inside your mind, inside your heart, inside your imagination. Morning meditation is the protocol of those who govern their life from the spirit outward, not the flesh inward. You cannot afford to be casual with your mornings. You cannot allow the first words you hear to be unfiltered, unaligned, or undirected, because those words are building something. They are not harmless. They are not forgettable. They are forming the atmosphere in which your day will breathe. And you either breathe in the air of purpose or the pollution of panic. That is why the first voice matters. Because that voice is not just sound, it is seed. It is instruction, it is permission, it is blueprint. And the miracle you are waiting for is waiting for you to create the right conditions. That condition starts with awareness, with silence, with listening. You listen not just to words, but to presence. You listen for alignment. You listen for guidance. And when you make this a discipline, you stop living from the outside in and begin living from the inside out. You stop reacting to life and begin shaping it. Because now, you're not moving from emotion, you're moving from revelation. And revelation is the birthplace of every miracle. Miracles are not random events that surprise the prepared. They are divine manifestations that flow into order. They are attracted to alignment, not to mere activity. Many people exhaust themselves chasing miracles, running from place to place, prayer to prayer, book to book, yet missing the foundational truth. Miracles do not respond to business. They respond to inner structure. When your mind, spirit, and intentions are in alignment with truth, miracles cannot help but locate you. They are not earned by effort. They are invited by order. Every morning presents a new opportunity to bring yourself into divine alignment. Before you check off the to-do list, before you step into the demands of your day, before you perform, you must align. Morning meditation is not laziness. It is leadership. It is the moment you gather the scattered pieces of your soul and pull them into unity. It is the act of returning to center, remembering who you are, remembering what matters, and remembering where your authority comes from. It is the breath before the battle. It is the silence before the sound. It is the root before the fruit. Activity without alignment is motion without meaning. You can run all day and still be lost. You can work hard and never produce. Because activity driven by anxiety or fear will only multiply confusion. But when you align yourself through morning meditation, when your heart bows before your Creator, when your thoughts settle into stillness, when your spirit rises to receive, it is no longer about how much you do. It becomes about how clearly you see. You see the path, the timing, the posture, the opportunity, and the word that was already there waiting for you to slow down enough to notice it. Miracles are not the result of trying harder. They are the result of listening deeper. And in the quiet of the morning, when the world is still asleep, when the noise has not yet awakened, that is your sacred chance to position yourself in alignment. You are not trying to impress God. You are not begging the universe to favor you. You are coming into agreement with what has already been prepared for you. Miracles are not late. They are in place. But they require a vessel that is aligned in belief, in posture, and in clarity. Meditation is how you become that vessel. When you skip alignment and jump into activity, you forfeit divine rhythm. You may still produce, but it will be from strain, not from grace. You may still achieve, but you'll do it by carrying burdens you were never meant to bear. Alignment brings ease. It brings flow. It activates what is already inside you. Because when you align, you awaken the part of yourself that hears beyond logic, that sees beyond sight. That expects the miraculous not out of desperation, but out of inheritance. You stop working for miracles and begin walking with them. Most people confuse movement with progress. They assume being busy means being effective. But fruitfulness is not born out of motion. It is born out of meditation. When you meditate in the morning, you access wisdom before strategy. You receive clarity before choice. You establish peace before pressure. And that inner peace becomes the soil where miracles grow. Not the kind of miracles that are loud and dramatic, but the quiet, consistent kind that transform your life from the inside out. The kind that shift atmospheres. The kind that reorder circumstances. The kind that align people and resources in ways you couldn't orchestrate if you tried. It's not about how early you rise. It's about what you rise into. If you wake up into worry, that worry becomes your energy. If you wake up into purpose, that purpose becomes your compass. Morning meditation is your time of calibration. You check your soul the way a pilot checks his instruments before takeoff. You examine your thoughts. You direct your intentions. You speak what is true until your being agrees with it. You listen until the static of yesterday is replaced by the signal of today. And in that moment, something shifts. You are no longer approaching the day from your weakness. You are entering it from your seat of authority. When you meditate, you realign your internal world with eternal truth. You bring your thoughts into agreement with divine principles. And from that place, everything you touch becomes infused with power. Conversations become impactful. Decisions become precise. Movements become intentional. This is how miracles happen, not in the chaos of unfiltered action, but in the flow of a life that has been tuned like an instrument to the key of heaven. Morning meditation does not delay your progress. It accelerates it by ensuring that every step you take is connected to vision. Some believe miracles are for the desperate, but in truth, miracles are for the aligned. They manifest most easily where resistance is lowest. And resistance is lowest when your spirit, mind, and body are in agreement. That is what meditation brings. It removes the static. It removes the contradiction. It brings you to a place where faith can rise without interference, where your thoughts are not fighting your beliefs, and your actions are not sabotaging your intentions. In that harmony, the miraculous finds fertile ground. You no longer hope from a place of fear. You expect from a place of certainty. The miracle is not outside of you trying to break in. It is inside of you waiting to be activated. And the key that unlocks it is alignment. Before you speak a word, before you send an email, before you answer a call, pause. Align. Sit in silence and listen to the guidance that doesn't come from stress, but from stillness. That's where the blueprint is. That's where the idea is. That's where the instruction lies. Not in the noise, but in the quiet. Not in the striving, but in the surrender. Activity will tell you to go faster. Alignment will tell you where to go. Activity pushes. Alignment pulls. Activity exhausts. Alignment empowers. If you begin your day from alignment, you will find that the very things you were trying to force now begin to unfold. What you chase now begins to chase you. What felt impossible now begins to feel inevitable. Not because circumstances changed, but because your inner world changed. The miracle wasn't late. You just weren't in position. Meditation puts you in position, not just to receive the miracle, but to recognize it, to receive it with joy, to steward it with wisdom, to live from it with gratitude. This is why the first moments of your day are not for performance, but for presence. Not for proving, but for posturing. When you begin in alignment, you become a magnet for the miraculous, because miracles are not found, they are followed. They follow those who walk in order, who rise in discipline, who listen in stillness, who obey without fear. And it is in that sacred space of morning meditation where miracles begin, not in chaos, but in calm, not in striving, but in stillness, not in the crowd, but in the quiet place where you remember who you are and where you are going. The morning is not just another part of the day. It is sacred territory. It is the birthplace of all that follows. It is the womb of your thoughts, your choices, your emotions, and your energy. To treat it lightly is to give away the most valuable real estate of your soul. The morning is a throne, and whoever sits on it will rule the rest of your hours. That is why the morning must be guarded, not casually entered. It must be approached like holy ground. You are not just waking up to the world. You are waking up to rulership, to responsibility, and to divine alignment. There is a war for your first attention. There is a battle over who gets to speak first into your soul. The enemy of purpose does not need your entire day. He only needs the gate. Because if he can slip in through the gate of your morning, he can poison the well from which you drink for the next 16 hours. If negativity claims the throne of your mind when you rise, then your thoughts, your moods, your actions, and your words will serve that false king all day. But if truth, gratitude, peace, and divine presence sit upon that throne, then your day becomes a kingdom ruled by clarity. You are not just living a day, you are governing it. Every day is a realm you are meant to rule over, not be ruled by. But rulership begins with reverence. Reverence for the morning. Reverence for the silence. Reverence for the power of beginnings. Every builder knows the foundation determines everything. If the first brick is laid with crookedness, the whole structure must bend to that flaw. And so it is with your inner world. If your first thoughts are unchecked, unaligned, and unguarded, they become the misaligned foundation that everything else must adjust around. But if the morning is built with precision and power, then the rest of your day will find its shape within that strength. People often underestimate the power of the first hour. They think time is the most important resource, but it is not. Attention is. Where your attention goes, your life follows. And the first hour of your day is where attention is at its most vulnerable. You are open, you are soft, you are available. And whatever you let in during that time is not just visiting, it's planting. You are sowing seeds that will rise up hours later in the form of energy, decisions, emotions, and outcomes. That is why you must protect your mornings with the intensity of a gatekeeper. Not everything and everyone should be allowed in. Not every notification deserves your presence. Not every thought is worthy of access. You are royalty, and royalty does not wake up and hand over their crown to chaos. There is something spiritual about the morning that defies logic. The quiet, the hush before the world awakens, it is a sacred invitation, a whisper from heaven, a calling to step out of the shadows of sleep into the light of purpose. The morning is not a time to rush into. It is a time to honor, a time to listen, a time to commune, a time to align your soul with the eternal. In that quiet space, before the demands of life try to dictate your emotions, you have a choice to make. Will you rule your day, or will you be ruled by it? Those who change their mornings change their lives, because the morning is where habits are born. It is where momentum is created. It is where your faith is awakened. It is where your confidence is rehearsed. It is where vision is recited. It is where you remind your inner world of what is true, before the outer world tries to convince you otherwise. And that reminder does not come through noise. It comes through discipline, through devotion, through deliberate stillness that says, I will not be rushed. I will not be pulled. I will not be shaped by the external before I have been filled internally. You must learn to treat your morning like royal territory. Imagine for a moment a palace. The guards are posted at the gates. Not everyone can enter. There is protocol. There is order. There is honor. The palace does not open its doors to chaos. It opens its doors with dignity and purpose. So it should be with your inner palace, the throne room of your mind and spirit. Before anyone else speaks into your day, you must sit with the king. You must commune with truth. You must meditate on what is eternal, not what is urgent. That shift in posture reclaims your authority. It reminds the atmosphere that you are not just another person in motion. You are a ruler in alignment. And the beautiful thing about treating your morning as sacred is that everything else in your day begins to mirror that sacredness. Conversations become more intentional. Responses become more measured. Goals become clearer. The noise of the world loses its power to disturb you because you have already heard the voice of calm. You have already chosen peace. You have already bowed to truth. And once truth has your allegiance, lies have no grip on you. Many people try to solve the chaos in their life by changing the external. They switch schedules. They change careers. They rearrange environments. But the true transformation begins in the morning, because the morning is the root and everything else is fruit. If you tend to the root with care, the fruit will show up in its time. But if you ignore the root, no amount of effort will save the harvest. The secret to supernatural living is not found in running harder. It is found in rising wiser. It is found in honoring the morning as holy. It is found in treating those early minutes as more than just routine, but as the altar of intention. There is wisdom in starting slow. There is power in beginning quiet. There is strength in pausing before pushing. Because the one who rules well in silence will not be shaken by noise. The one who hears clearly before acting will not be confused by pressure. That is what the morning gives you, a moment to rule the realm within. A chance to choose your posture before the world tries to define it for you. And when you choose that posture from a place of purpose, miracles are no longer a mystery. They are a manifestation of order. To rule your day, rule your morning. To shape your outcomes, shape your opening. To experience the miraculous, start with reverence. Not reverence out of fear, but reverence out of honor. Honor for the opportunity, honor for the gift. Honor for the divine responsibility of governing your inner world before you ever touch the outer world. The morning is not just a beginning. It is a gateway, a sacred gate. And you are the gatekeeper. When you rise from sleep, you are not just returning to the world. You are returning from a realm beyond time. Sleep is not merely rest for the body. It is a spiritual reset. It is the nightly departure of the soul from the chaos of physical activity into the quiet order of the unseen. And when you wake, there is a brief but powerful window of access, a holy moment when your spirit is still tender, your mind is uncluttered, and your heart is most open to receive. In that moment, before the noise begins, before your responsibilities rush in, before your memories reassert themselves, you stand closest to the divine. The veil is still thin. The bridge between heaven and earth is still illuminated. That is why the first few moments after waking are not just valuable, they are sacred. You may not realize it, but your spirit is listening long before your mouth speaks. In that gentle space between sleep and action, your soul is not distracted by questions, worries, or logic. It is simply present. It is simply awake. And that is the most powerful portal you will step through all day. Because in that moment, your subconscious is still active. Your conscious mind has not fully re-engaged. You are in the in-between, a space of great spiritual openness, where the soil of your mind is most fertile. What you plant there will grow rapidly. What you feed your soul in that moment will determine the climate of your inner world for the rest of the day. This is why meditation is not a religious ritual. It is a spiritual strategy. It is the deliberate act of engaging with this window of receptivity. It is how you whisper back to the spirit that is already whispering to you. It is how you tune in before the frequencies of the world drown out your clarity. When you meditate immediately after waking, you are not forcing your mind into stillness. You are preserving the stillness that already exists. You are gently shaping the first impressions of the day. And the first impressions are often the most lasting ones. Your mind after sleep is a blank page. Your thoughts have not yet been rewritten by yesterday's anxieties or today's expectations. Your emotions have not yet been hijacked by the headlines or the tasks ahead. This is your moment of spiritual creativity, where what you speak, feel, or visualize is not just heard, it is absorbed deeply. In that state, affirmations are not just words, they are seeds. Prayers are not just requests, they are alignments. Visions are not just daydreams, they are blueprints. You are not merely thinking, you are constructing. You are not merely listening, you are receiving instructions. And those instructions are not coming from the clutter of the conscious. They are rising from the depth of the divine. This moment is too powerful to be wasted. To rush into the world without honoring this sacred space is to leave the treasure chest unlocked and untouched. It is to leave the feast set before you are eaten. This moment is not about how long you stay in meditation. It is about whether you recognize the value of being there at all. Even a few minutes of deep, intentional stillness, filled with gratitude, purpose, and divine connection, can redirect the entire course of your day. You do not need a dramatic encounter. You only need a quiet willingness to listen. And in that listening, miracles begin to unfold, not because you earned them, but because you were finally positioned to receive them. In the early morning, your inner world is sensitive. You are more vulnerable to suggestion, more open to influence. That's why the enemy of your destiny will always try to insert fear, doubt, or distraction first. If he can invade your mind before you've guarded it, he can steer your emotions before you've rooted them. He doesn't need your whole day. He only needs your first thought. That first thought becomes the lens through which all others are filtered. But if you rise and immediately set your attention on divine truth, if your first awareness is of peace, of love, of destiny, then your inner world becomes anchored. You become immovable because you are connected to something greater than your circumstances. You must begin to treat these first few minutes after waking as a holy exchange. The world is still asleep, but your spirit is awake. The noise has not yet begun, but your clarity is already available. This is where vision meets silence. This is where identity is spoken louder than insecurity. This is where heaven downloads instruction and wisdom into your soul, not through thunder, but through whispers. Meditation in this space is not about effort. It is about surrender. It is the moment when you allow what is eternal to take priority over what is urgent. It is where you train your heart to respond to peace before it ever encounters pressure. You are not just a physical being with a body that wakes up. You are a spiritual being who re-enters the battlefield of purpose each morning. And every warrior needs preparation. Every king and queen needs counsel. Morning meditation after waking is your divine strategy session. It is the time when the Spirit whispers strategies that your intellect could never conceive. It is when your soul receives strength that your body has not yet accessed. It is when unseen forces align to support your day, not because of chance, but because of choice. You chose to show up. You chose to listen. You chose to honor the unseen above the seen. This is where miracles begin, not in the fire, not in the wind, but in the whisper. Not in the rush of obligation, but in the quiet place of reception. Every great breakthrough has a beginning, and many of those beginnings look like simple silence. They look like closed eyes, deep breath, steady posture, and an open heart. But what is happening in that posture is powerful beyond description. You are opening portals. You are commanding alignment. You are agreeing with heaven. You are declaring that your life is not led by reaction, but by revelation. You are stepping into the authority of a soul that refuses to be led by anything other than truth. And once you experience the power of this portal, this delicate space after waking, you will never want to rush past it again. You will begin to treasure those early moments, not as obligation, but as opportunity, not as discipline, but as delight. because you will see what begins to unfold throughout your day. Ideas flow with ease. Emotions remain grounded. Situations begin to shift in your favor. Not because everything outside has changed, but because you changed first. You started differently. You aligned when it mattered most. You stepped through the portal, and now the miraculous walks with you. Meditation is often misunderstood. Many see it as an escape, a retreat from the responsibilities of life, a passive act of silence that seems disconnected from productivity or purpose. But true meditation, especially when practiced in the sacred stillness of morning, is not retreat, it is rulership. It is not weakness, it is warfare. It is not the absence of thought, it is the alignment of thought with eternal truth. Meditation is the language of dominion. It is how kings and queens of destiny take counsel before stepping onto the battlefield of life. It is how rulers of purpose begin their day, not in panic, but in presence. Not reacting, but ruling. The world has trained us to begin with motion, to start our day with activity, speed, and external pressure. But the Spirit understands that real power does not begin with movement. It begins with mastery, and mastery begins within. Meditation is the process by which you master your inner world before the outer world even has a chance to speak. It is the discipline of tuning into the higher frequency of truth, of bringing your soul back into agreement with your purpose, and of commanding your day from the inside out. When you sit in morning meditation, you are not running away from problems. You are rising above them. You are not ignoring your responsibilities. You are receiving divine strategies to handle them with authority. You are not wasting time. You are investing it in the most valuable realm, your internal kingdom. And that kingdom governs everything. What happens outside is a reflection of what's happening inside. Your relationships, decisions, conversations, and even opportunities will mirror the condition of your inner posture. Meditation is the sacred act of setting that posture with intention, clarity, and strength. It is in meditation that your mind quiets enough to hear the voice that has been speaking all along. Not the voice of fear or shame or pressure, but the voice of truth, of wisdom, of identity. That voice is often drowned out by the volume of life. But in meditation it rises, not as noise, but as clarity. And that clarity is the foundation of dominion. Because rulers do not lead from confusion. They lead from conviction. They lead from knowing who they are and where they're going. That knowing comes in the quiet. It comes when you stop striving and start receiving. There is a power in stillness that cannot be imitated. The world teaches us that motion equals meaning. But kingdom living reveals that silence often precedes the supernatural. Moses heard God in the mountain stillness. Elijah encountered the divine not in the fire, the wind, or the earthquake, but in a still, small voice. Jesus rose early in the morning to be alone to pray, to commune with the Father. Not because he needed escape, but because he walked in power and understood the source. Meditation is not hiding from the world. It is connecting to the one who governs it. It is reminding yourself that you are not the source. You are the vessel. And a vessel must be filled before it can pour. In meditation, you stop performing and begin positioning. You stop trying and begin trusting. You surrender the illusion of control and step into the reality of co-creation. You remember that miracles do not come by striving. They come by surrendering to divine order. And that surrender is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the recognition that the greatest victories are not won by might or manipulation, but by alignment with the invisible laws of the Spirit. Meditation brings you into that alignment. Quietly but powerfully, you emerge not drained but equipped, not timid but confident, not scattered but focused. The mind is a battlefield, and the one who masters their thoughts rules their day. Meditation is how you wage war, not with your fists but with your focus. You are not letting the world decide who you are today. You are declaring it before the world speaks. You are not being driven by your environment. You are directing it from your place of peace. And peace is not passive. It is one of the most powerful weapons in existence. Peace silences storms. Peace confuses enemies. Peace positions you to hear, to discern, and to act with wisdom rather than impulse. Meditation is how you re-enter the throne room of your soul each morning. It is how you remind every cell in your body, every thought in your mind, and every emotion in your heart that you are not subject to circumstance. You are aligned with the eternal. That kind of posture cannot be shaken by emails or expectations. It does not bend to traffic deadlines or disagreements. It sees through the noise and acts from truth. It listens before it speaks. It breathes before it moves. That is the posture of dominion. That is the fruit of meditation. When you rise and sit in silence, when you breathe deeply and connect with divine truth, you are not avoiding your day. You are anointing it. You are not procrastinating. You are preparing. You are not wasting time. You are walking into it with power. The problems may still exist, but now they are facing a different version of you. A version that is centered. A version that is connected. A version that is rooted in the unseen and therefore unshakable in the seen. This is why meditation is not just a habit. It is a key. A master key that unlocks peace when the world demands panic. That opens wisdom when the mind offers confusion. That releases joy when heaviness tries to settle. That reminds you of your divine identity when voices around you try to redefine you. And it is best used at the beginning of the day, when your soul is most tender, most open, and most available to receive what truly matters. In meditation, you are not silent because you have nothing to say. You are silent because you are listening to the one whose voice builds worlds. You are being still not because you are unsure, but because you are sure of your source. You are grounded not because you have figured it all out, but because you know where to rest your confidence. That kind of grounding transforms how you show up. You walk differently. You speak with authority. You act with clarity. You lead with humility, because you are not leading alone. You are not creating alone. You are not moving alone. The world honors business, but heaven honors alignment. And meditation brings you back into that heavenly rhythm where you move not out of reaction but out of revelation. Where you build not out of pressure but out of purpose. Where you show up not to prove something but to express something already established within you. That is the kind of power meditation gives. Not just peace for a moment, but dominion over a day. Not just rest for your mind, but resurrection for your purpose. Not just silence for your ears, but clarity for your spirit. And from that place, miracles no longer feel like surprises. They become the natural result of a life lived from divine alignment. Every day carries a frequency. Every thought, word, and action operates at a certain vibrational level. Most people are unaware that their days are not only shaped by what they do, but by the frequency they emit. When you wake up in the morning, you are not just waking up to a physical environment. You are tuning your spirit to a signal. And that signal becomes the foundation upon which your entire day is built. You are either operating from a frequency of fear or a frequency of faith, a vibration of confusion or a vibration of clarity, a sound of defeat or a sound of dominion. The world will respond to the vibration you begin with. The universe was created through sound, not noise but intentional creative sound. Everything in existence responds to vibration. Your body responds to it. Your thoughts are shaped by it. Your emotions flow with it. And your reality is formed through it. So when you rise in the morning and intentionally tune yourself to the frequency of miracles, abundance, purpose, and peace, you begin to walk in alignment with that sound. You become a transmitter. You don't just hope for miracles, you resonate with them. You don't just ask for peace, you emit it. And because like attracts like, what you release into the atmosphere is what finds its way back to you. Most people begin their day unconsciously vibrating at the level of their problems. Their thoughts immediately default to stress, anxiety, deadlines, regret, or fear. That internal noise becomes the tone of their entire day. Even if good things happen, they are filtered through a lens of tension. They are unable to see opportunities because they are vibrating at a level that can't detect them. It's not that good things don't exist. It's that they're tuned into the wrong frequency. Your awareness, your focus, your openness to receive are all shaped by the frequency you begin with. That's why your morning is not about checking boxes. It's about tuning in. This is what makes morning meditation so powerful. In that still moment after waking, you are given the opportunity to consciously choose your frequency. You are handed the spiritual dial. You get to decide whether you align yourself with worry or wisdom, whether you begin with fear or with faith, whether you tune your energy to lack or to abundance. And once that frequency is set, everything within you begins to harmonize. Your thoughts find agreement. Your emotions begin to settle. Your energy rises to match the level of your intention. This is not superstition. It is spiritual law. What you broadcast is what you attract. There are days when everything seems to flow, when conversations are filled with grace, doors open without force, and your words seem to carry unusual weight. That is not coincidence. It is resonance. It is the result of stepping into your day already aligned with the frequency of purpose. And the reason it felt effortless is because effort was never meant to be the source of power. Alignment was. You can struggle all day trying to push your way forward. But if you begin with the wrong frequency, your energy will always be out of sync with your desired result. But if you take a few moments in the morning to still yourself, to speak truth, to listen deeply, to remember who you are. Then you begin to walk not from struggle, but from sound. You walk from resonance. Everything in creation responds to vibration. The cells in your body, the tone of your voice, the thoughts that repeat in your mind. Morning meditation gives you the power to tune all of these elements before the world even touches you. You are the conductor of your inner symphony. And when that symphony is in harmony, you become magnetic. Ideas come with ease. People respond to your confidence. Situations bend in your favor. Not because of force, but because of flow. You are operating at the frequency that matches your assignment. Miracles do not happen in environments of disorder. They respond to divine resonance. They appear where faith is strong, where peace is present, and where the atmosphere is ready. Meditation is how you prepare that atmosphere within yourself. It's how you clear the static, how you dissolve the fear, how you invite the miraculous through inner stillness and outer awareness. When you rise with intention, when you tune your spirit to the voice of truth, you are not just preparing for the day, you are commanding it. You are shaping the tone before others can shape it for you. It is a spiritual principle that sound precedes manifestation. Words create worlds. Intentions give birth to reality. What you speak, think, and feel in those early moments becomes the seed of what you will later walk into. This is why you must choose your sound carefully. You must choose your thoughts carefully. Not from habit, but from truth. Not from history, but from destiny. Morning meditation gives you the opportunity to raise your vibration from survival to sovereignty, from fear to faith, from anxiety to authority. You are not at the mercy of your circumstances. You are the architect of your frequency. The sound you carry affects everything. It affects how people receive you, how you handle problems, how opportunities present themselves. The higher your frequency, the greater your clarity. And clarity is what makes room for miracles. When your mind is clear, when your heart is open, when your spirit is anchored, then miracles are not just possible, they are predictable. Not because you forced them, but because you matched them. You came into agreement with what heaven was already prepared to give. Meditation brings you into that agreement, quietly, powerfully, daily. This is not about perfection, it is about awareness. Every morning you have a choice to tune into the noise of the world or to the sound of truth, to let fear direct your emotions or to let faith shape your perspective. The frequency you begin with is not imposed. It is chosen. It does not come from outside. It rises from within. And once it rises, everything around you adjusts. Life responds. Circumstances shift. People change. Not because you manipulated anything, but because you showed up in resonance with who you were always meant to be. There is a reason musicians tune their instruments before they perform. A single string out of alignment ruins the whole song. Your soul is no different. You must tune it before you begin the performance of your day. Meditation is how you do that. It is how you make sure the tone you carry is worthy of the miracle you're expecting. Because miracles do not come to chaos, they come to those who are in tune. And once you are in tune, there is nothing left to chase. You become a magnet to the very thing others are still striving to reach. Not because you did more, but because you aligned more deeply. You chose to begin in truth. You chose to walk in sound. You chose to live by frequency. My friends, hear me. Every single morning is not just the start of a new day. It is the opening of a divine portal. It is not routine, it is revelation. It is not casual, it is kingdom business. The way you enter your morning determines how heaven and earth respond to you. You are not a victim of your environment. You are a steward of your atmosphere. You do not rise just to survive the day, you rise to govern it. And you govern it not by rushing into activity, but by entering alignment. You were never designed to live from chaos. You were created to live from clarity, conviction, and communion. And that begins not when the world speaks, but when your spirit listens. Morning meditation is not an optional practice. It is a royal protocol. It is how sons and daughters of the kingdom receive instruction from the throne room before they step into the marketplace of life. It is how you silence the noise before the noise silences you. It is how you set the frequency of miracles before doubt has a chance to speak. This is your charge. Never give your mornings to chance again. Guard them. Sanctify them. Set them apart as holy ground. Refuse to let the first voice you hear be one of confusion, distraction, or fear. Rise like a ruler, still aware, aligned. Because when you do, you won't have to chase power, peace, or provision. They will recognize your frequency and come looking for you. So I say to you, wake up with purpose. Meditate with intention. Govern your inner world before you face the outer one. And watch as miracles begin to follow you. Not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. Not because you're perfect, but because you're positioned. Not because you're chasing them, but because you've become the kind of vessel that miracles are drawn to. Your morning is your mandate. Your stillness is your strategy. And your meditation is your moment of mastery. Govern it well. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more rulers of peace. Let that ruler be you.